stop.
Full stop. We got to record. Hi. Today on the Divine Feminine series, we are continuing on and we're talking about the goddess Nut. And she is from the Egyptian pantheon of gods, goddesses, deities. And I am going to open up my photos. And there's a few different depictions of her.
All were gorgeous that I found.
Right. Um, and she's, let me now. Uh, there we go. Here we go. Share, share, share this. Share. So this here is one depiction. Is everybody
Yes.
able to see this right now? This is one depiction of her. She is the body that is going up and over and across with all the stars in her body and coming back down, protecting everyone. And this is a really beautiful image um, of her. So this is just one image of her in her story of who she is. I have another one. Um, Let me go into my photos and let me reduce this one. There we go. Let me open up this one.
And that was a good depiction of
I really
her
like that one because of
greatness.
the coloring in that one, right? So I really enjoy that one. So now I'm going to hold on, share photos, share. And here's an, is it showing the right one?
It's showing it's a black screen.
That's
I'm
not
just
what
seeing
I
like the
want. On my
bottom of
screen, I'm
something.
seeing something else. Okay, let me
It says
escape.
pinch to zoom at the beginning is what it said.
I'm going to stop sharing. Let me go back because I have the photo open. Okay, so now let me go back and do share screen, share. Here we go. It just took a second for my computer to be like, there it is. This
There,
is
yes.
this is another very common depiction of her, but I really like the one with the blue in the
I
sky.
do too. I do too,
Really do.
especially.
But she's kind of overseeing all this. So if this
Hmm.
is new to you, um, we're gonna talk about her. And so I'm gonna let Cassandra lead and tell us the things that she has discovered or already knew or learned about Met. And I'll intertwine what I've known about her and we'll go on. So go ahead, Cassandra.
Well, I one of the reasons why I love this series, the Divine Feminine series in general, is because I also learn things that I have never known before about cultures and religions and spiritualities that we don't necessarily talk about every day, especially coming from some of us coming from a Christian background in the North America. So it's wildly different than what we're used to on what sky gods and goddesses might look like from our early upbringing. So I want to start with what I started with, which was this our goddess oracle deck that we've been using to pull our cards here recently. And I kind of went in blind. I mean, I studied Egyptian stuff when I was a kid because I loved the documentaries just to watch anything about the pyramids and anything about their religion and their spirituality. But I didn't know a whole lot about Nut going into this. So I'll read you the poem that starts off from our goddess oracle deck. And she says, "Reach for me, touch me. I'm always beyond your grasp. Don't try to figure me out, for you can't. I'm the ever present, unfathomable unknown. I am the immensity of the star filled sky. I am beyond human comprehension. In the vastness of my being, I am a mystery, even to myself." Which made me think, okay, this is what woman looked like back in a different time, especially a different time from what I'm used to. So her story starts, she was one of the original goddesses from the Aeneid. She, before the world, there was only noon, the infinite dark waters of chaos. From those waters came Atun, or Ra, the self created God who breathed out Shu, air, and Tefnut, moisture. So these things are what helped create the world. And what's interesting about that, and so different than what we're used to in some of the things that we've got grown up with, is that a god was the fertility god in this instance, whereas the female gods and goddesses were actually a sky goddess which is not normal in what texts we've seen before, where typically males predominate the sky. But in this one instance, we've got Nut that's being born. So he gave birth to Geb the earth and Nut the sky. And back then, they kind of looked at the earth and the sky as being a part of each other, as being one universe. But they became inseparable lovers, and they were locked in their embrace so complete that nothing could exist between them. So Shu, their father, forced them apart. And he lifted Nut up on four pillars, and it became the air that separates the sky from the earth to this day. But it was too late, and Nut was already pregnant. So Ra, the sun god, heard of a prophecy that one of the children of Nut and Geb would one day surpass him and overthrow his power. In his fear, he cursed Nut, so she could not give birth on any day of the year. The Egyptian year had 360 days, which is interesting. So, but Nut asked Thoth, the god of wisdom, for the help. And what's interesting about Thoth is in Greek, he's Hermes. So some of these gods and goddesses actually move over into other religions and other spiritualities. And so when I was reading about Thoth, I was reading about Hermes as well, and just that, okay, I'm going to go get things done kind of mentality from that type of god. So Thoth went to the moon god and challenged him to a game of dice, which is also just kind of interesting. We're playing games for days, aren't we? And he played again and again, winning each time, collecting moonlight as his prize, until he had enough light to fashion 5 entirely new days. And these days belonged to no year. And on those 5 days, Nut gave birth to Osiris, Horus the Elder, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. And the entire Egyptian divine order was born. So, though we started off with a male fertility god, we move into another female goddess that births, despite the fact that people tried to stop her. And then we move into what she actually became. So every single evening, Nut swallows the sun god Ra as he crosses the sky from the east to the west. And he passes through her body during the night, through the underworld that lives inside her. So she doesn't just encompass the sky, she's not just in the sky, she also has the entire underworld inside of her. So she encompasses everything. She protects the earth and she's over the earth, but she also helps people move through their new future from their death. Through her, every morning she gives birth to him, and again at dawn, the most powerful male figure in Egyptian mythology passes through a woman's body daily and is reborn by her grace. Every sunrise is her act of creation. So in this spirituality, every single time they looked at the sun, they saw the product of what Nut gave. But every time they looked at the sky at night, they saw Nut. So she became the guardian of the dead. She's painted on the inside of nearly every Egyptian sarcophagus because she was the transition into the afterlife. Her body arched over the mummies, her face looked down, her arms and wings extended into protection. And when an Egyptian died and was placed in their coffin, they were placed inside her. Death was re-entering her body. Rebirth was her giving birth again, and her coffin was not just a container, it was a womb. So it was a transition into something different. And what I found interesting about her is that now that when I look up in the Milky Way, I'm thinking, okay, this is Nut, because that's what some of the myth talks about, her personification being the Milky Way. That's how we can see what she is and how we can see into the stars and see a little glimpse of our own piece of goddess. But what I also found interesting was that she was so revered, that she was at the top of the list for what everyone could see daily. So even though the sun god was really important, the sun god could only exist after he went through Nut. So when I started learning about her, despite the fact that there were some inconsistencies in her story when it comes to her love affair with her brother, which is also not something that we normally hear about, but back in a different time, they saw things a little bit differently than what we do now. So it's something that we have to consider when we're reading old texts. But her story alone just makes me realize that at one point in time, there was a sky goddess, not just Every other religion has a male sky god that we've looked at so far. But this is the first one where a female really envelops the entire world. And not only does she protect it, but she helps transform it after death. And all of those things just made me fall kind of in love with her because she, I mean, depicted as a naked woman with the body of the stars. She's the mother of the sun, the mistress of all, but she is omnipresent, which is something that we have associated with a male god in the past, right? So it's just almost, I almost fell in love with her because of how magnificent she was and how this equality existed in a different culture that still exists today. So some of us struggle with trying to prove our worth, whereas another time that worth was already proven because we had a goddess that was showing just how much women are capable of, or at least how much the feminine part of us is capable. So that's kind of what I discovered. Tell me what you discovered, Deb.
Likewise, to so much that you just touched upon, is that I've grown up under a very patriarchal religion that diminished women as being the creators. Everything in creation is created from a woman. But yet, the Egyptology of it and their whole line really does have her as this creator of all these main character gods and goddesses. What you mentioned on and touched on is that her and her brother did birthing of this, but that is very prominent in the Greek as well. And that got carried into the purity of their lines and why not only in Egypt, but you saw this in the European families and the Habsburgs of constantly intermarrying not siblings, but siblings in Egypt for sure. But there was this constant wanting to keep this bloodline. And they kind of took that from their own mythologies and deities and beliefs. I truly love that she just encompasses all of creation, right? That the sun comes birthing through her every morning in the sunrise. And then she's just this constant rebringing, and she's the entire stars and protector through the night. And so, again, really profound of like all strength, all protection, rebirth, cycles, renewal, transformation, just this divine mother. And that's powerful. Again, like you said, I think for me, growing up in my faith of Christianity, women had a lesser role. Women could not be pastors. Women could not serve in higher places. The biblical story of um, men having power over the women and the women to be subjective to the men just really was very strong and never felt right to me. And maybe that's my strong-willedness and the divine feminine in me being like, there's more to this.
Wait a minute.
So I really like her story and how she is so powerful that she, like you said, they find her in every tomb and every place and space. Um, the belief that she was going to guide them is so beautiful, and that she was seen as comforting, she
Hmm.
was seen as nurturing, and people just their fear of death was not what I see a lot of people fearing in death in the religion I was raised in. In the religion I was raised in, people are fearful that they're going to go to some burning hell. And this is not their belief system. They are going to be carried on into this next phase or this rebirth in the other worlds. And so she's going to guide them. She's going to be there with them. It wasn't a fear of death at all. And oftentimes in some of Egypt, when somebody died, their family was buried with them and their servants were buried with them. And but there was no resistance to that because there was no limitation, right? It wasn't like this is the end and you're now going to be judged. There was some judgment that happened in their
Yes.
belief system, but not, it was a little bit different, right? And I think with her, the whole piece of like, she can't give birth on any day. We're just gonna, there's no day. And then yet they added these extra 5 days for her, these that aren't days on a calendar, but these 5 days for her. She birthed all these deities, including Osiris
Cyrus.
and Isis. I took Isis and Osiris and I made Oriris. I made up a
There
whole
you
new
go.
god. Um, but again, there's no limitation on her there, right?
Hmm.
And even when a system says no, life finds a way. And we see this over and over and over again throughout so many stories of history that when the oppression comes and they try to say no to a group of people or whatever, it always ekes out and finds a way. So,
Yes.
um, I think there's so many messages we can take from this.
So
And
many.
I mean, I had kind of heard of her, but for me, I had heard more about Isis. I had
Hmm.
heard more about Anubis. I
Yes.
had heard about, I knew Ra was like, important. And I had heard of her, but I have so much more understanding and appreciation of her and love of her. So I want to say, what is for me? What can I learn? What can I take away? And this is the part I do every time in this series. Like, what can I take away from the story of Nut and who she is? And how can I um, put this into my own life? Like, what can I take away? Not being limited,
Right.
that everything is being birthed through her. And I don't mean you don't have to birth children to have that.
Right.
You can birth ideas, you can birth community, you can birth love, you can birth all these things, right? It's not just creation of another human, it's creation of everything. That we are meant to expand upon whatever limitations we perceive. And so many times we are limited by our own thoughts and our own mind. And so she really represents the vastness of the cosmos. And there's so much more out there. And when we are stuck just here in our mind, we are so limited. We have such limiting beliefs. And so I feel like there's so much more possibilities and vastness of the universe. There's so much more to explore, to see, to understand. So many times I know, even in my own life when I was younger, and it's so many times in working with people one on one, is that people shrink themselves.
Mm.
People shrink themselves emotionally. People shrink themselves spiritually, creatively, energetically. We just kind of shrink. And why do we shrink? Because of fear. We shrink because of conditioning.
Yes.
We shrink because we've been rejected or we have faced a difficulty. And Nut reminds you that you are bigger than the boxes that you were placed in. You are so much bigger than any box that you've put yourself in or somebody else has put you in. And so we are meant to expand, not contract. We are meant to experience life, not hide from it in fear, thinking if I hide, if I shrink, I'll be safe. So, number one, expand beyond your limits. And before I go on to the next one, do you have any thoughts on what I just said about that?
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean,
Okay.
the
Okay.
expansion, but also the idea that since we are so expansive, that there is not that we're not always going to know everything, too.
Right.
So because there is so much and she does encompass so much, there are some things that will remain a mystery. That's I keep going back to that mystery part of her poem where yes,
Yes.
we can expand everywhere, but also enjoy the parts that we don't necessarily understand. And so like we're going to be able to touch everything if we want to, but we might not know why, or we might not know the exact reason why it needs to be there. So maybe enjoying a little bit, because as someone who likes to be in control a little bit of my own life, that was a big reminder that yes, we can go anywhere we want, but also not have to necessarily know everything at the same time.
Right. And not wait to say, I can't expand in this direction because I don't know it. It's an unknown to me and
Yes.
I fear it. Again, Don't shrink because of fear, conditioning, or rejection. Fear is our biggest obstacle oftentimes in that expansion, expanding into the unknown, because you may learn more as you expand. You may not ever figure it all out. The unknown is the unknown, but don't fear it. All right, so we are meant to expand beyond limitation. Number two, darkness is not the enemy. So many times we fear the dark because it's part of that unknown. The Egyptians did not fear the night sky, they saw it as sacred, they saw it as fertile. And they felt very much that it was like this transformational place because that night sky was not fixed, right? As we're moving through our own solar system, that night sky is also shifting for them. And Nut teaches us that in periods of uncertainty, grief, shadow work, or transitions, these are not punishments. They're
Yes.
part of this whole cycle of learning and growing and rebirth. Let me say that again. There are periods in your life you're going to feel uncertain. There are periods of your life you're going to feel profound grief. And yet we're going to move through all of that and it's going to be transformational and life is just full of cycles. And so we're not stuck in grief forever, though we're going to carry grief, but all these things are not punishments. They're just part of life. And when we stop thinking of life as punishing us, but that we're going to have blessings and we're going to have lessons,
Yes.
take those transitional moments of your life and put them in a new thought and say, what did I learn in those transitions? Take the win away from that. The win of that is that I learned new things and I grew in new ways and I see the world now in a different light that I am wiser and I am stronger and it was difficult, but I can take away a win by what did I learn and where am I going with this? And how did I rebirth into somebody different going through that transition? All right, so darkness is not the enemy. It is part of the cycles of life, is that next piece. Any thoughts on that
And
before I move to the next one?
to add to it, just every time I see the sunset, because that was part of the mythological story, when the sun is setting and it's turning red, they saw that as the death of Ra. So Ra died every single night to become anew again in the morning, to move through Nut and to transform. So that darkness that you're talking about, that shadow work, that dark day that you're talking about comes anew with something else. Those lessons that you're talking about, we can transform the things that we've been through and turn them into something else. We can turn them into something beautiful and something bright. So now when I look at the sunset and when I look at the sunrise, that's what I'll think too. Those transformations can exist no matter what those dark days look like. So keep going.
So, building on that, exactly what you just said about the sun dying and being reborn through net every day, we are constantly becoming. We are
Yes.
never the same person. I am not the same person today. I was 2 weeks ago. I was 5 years ago. I was 15 years ago. The version that you from 5 years ago is not the version who is here right now with us. There is wisdom in allowing ourselves to evolve. We are constantly becoming. And so
Daily.
we are moving through endings and beginnings, endings and beginnings. We have death moments. Think about that.
The
We have
death of
death
the
moments
ego.
all the time. We have there was a period in my life where I was raising kids. I
Mm,
raised children, and then those children grew up. Those children moved out. I was no longer that mother that was hands-on providing and caring and nurturing every day. And that was a moment of empty nesting. And that can be a death moment and a rebirth into a new role and a new relationship with adult children, right? You can retire from work. And in that retirement now, your job, your purpose, and what you did for maybe a great portion of your life is now ending. And that can be the scariest moment for somebody who's moving into that next stage. But this is another rebirth moment. And so there
yes.
is wisdom in allowing yourself to evolve and what you are becoming. So, any thoughts on that before I move on to the next? I mean,
Oh,
you kind of hit
I
it
mean, that's
already
it.
when you talked about,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
And of course, even, you're saying that, and I'm even thinking about transitioning jobs. Like retirement
Yes.
is difficult, but
Yes.
even just moving from one job to the next, where you have to
So,
kind of a part of you has to die with that past job too, and take
correct.
those lessons and move into a different part of that life.
And, my parents' generation worked a job and they had a career and worked for the same company 30, 40, 50 years, right?
Yes.
My grandfather worked 45 years or 50 years for Goodyear, and my father worked his whole, like, he started off at working for the telephone company just for a couple of years and then worked for Edison, our electric company, for the rest of his career. That is not happening. Life is
No.
evolving so quickly. Jobs, technology. I mean, think about women and men who were operators. We don't have operators anymore. We don't need to call the operator to have her
Right.
connect us a call. And technology evolves so fast that jobs are taken away by technology, but then new jobs come in.
Yes.
So there is going to be for these generations of people where jobs shift and change, and there's going to be that moment of endings and beginnings, and we have endings and
Mhm.
beginnings all the time. So we are constantly becoming, constantly evolving. All right, the next one, protection can come through surrender. Let me
Mm.
tell you, you mentioned earlier, like wanting to know everything and have all the answers before we want to maybe step out and act in a certain way. Nut was seen as that protective canopy, right, over the
Mhm.
whole world. And sometimes healing does not come from controlling every outcome. Sometimes actually letting go and trusting something larger than ourselves and allowing ourselves to be held, that we don't have to all on our own do it all. So, whatever bigger picture, higher self, greater source, creator, God, universe, know that that exists and
Mm.
that it is not dependent on me to be so self-sufficient that I don't need anybody else. And trust me, I lived in that mode, right? Because I'm like, if I control every situation, then I control every outcome and then I'm safe. But sometimes we need to trust something larger than ourselves. And she
Mm.
was that larger than life. She just protected everything, everything above, everything below, everything. And how comforting that was, right?
Yes.
So coming through and letting us know that we don't have to do it all on our own. We don't have to have all the answers and just trust in a higher source, God, creator, higher self, your overlying soul, your guides, your angels, whatever that is for you, has your back as well. That the universe is there, God, creator, source. Again, whatever that higher self is for you, higher being. And so I think there is a little bit of, I can sit back and relax. I don't have to be so hyper vigilant. And I think for me, this came a little bit easier and sooner in my life. And for my husband, this took a little bit longer. And finally, my husband was like, it always works out. He's like, you've been saying it
Yes.
forever. It always works out. And it does. And now, not just now, a while back, he started to trust more because I would tell him it always works out. Look at every time you think it's so difficult or so hard or so bad, it always works out. It's going to be okay. And when you let that surrender step in, you can just kind of like relax. You're not just gripping the wheel like so hard. Like just sit back and relax, man. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You've survived 100% of your worst days. Trust that you've got this, but trust the universe has you too. So I think that's another beautiful message is like, we are not here to do it all on our own. We are here to trust. We are here to know that the universe has our back 100%.
And there's evidence of that everywhere. And the whole time you're talking, I was thinking exactly what you said, that we've seen 100% of our worst days and we've survived them. And that alone is proof that something's got our back. that alone right there, the fact that we can move on with different lessons, that is the knowledge and the proof that we need to move forward into something else, into to different lessons and that we can carry on and move into a different part of our life. So that, like, as you're talking about the universe protecting us, we can see proof of it everywhere. Every time we take something a little less seriously, or every time we walk into a room a little bit more prepared than the last time we walked in. It's like those are little pieces of proof that, yes, we are protected by the universe, God, Gus, whatever you want to call it, but we're also protected by ourselves. There's parts of us that are divine too, right? That soul in us is divine and it watches out for us too. So within us, we have the ability to protect ourselves also. So it's like we're connected to everything, to the Milky Way, to the cosmos, to the earth. And so all of the pieces of us that are connected, they're also protecting us too. So we can walk with it every single day. But I love that. We've seen 100% of our worst days and we've survived them. And that's what I keep carrying on with me too. Like when you were talking, I was like, oh, this fits perfectly. Okay.
All right, here's the last takeaway of the day, and then I'm gonna go through them all again. So you, if you want to write them down, you can write them down. This is the one that really sticks for me. There is power in the feminine that is cosmic. It is not small. It is not just one little lane that she flows in, right? Nut is not passive. She is immense. She is eternal. She is foundational to existence itself. She reminds us that feminine energy is expansive, it is intuitive, it is creative, it is transformative. So we have got to stop limiting ourselves. We got to just stop feeling like we are the lesser, we are the smaller. Like she is calling you into this divine feminine power, like nobody else we've talked about so far. We've talked a lot about like Kuan Yin and compassion and all these things that really these goddesses and deities from all cultures of this world that are that mothering, nurturing, soft, but this is more strength, expansive, like massive, immense, eternal, foundational to existence.
Yes. I mean,
Huge.
that's exactly what I wrote at the very top of my notes. She's omnipresent and the most important permanent part of life. Giving birth to light means that she is necessary for everything to grow, for everything to move forward. I mean, exactly what you said, that expansiveness, that immensity, it was really refreshing to see, especially when, like I said, we've had mostly sky gods. I mean, Ra is the sun god, but most of the sky gods in Greek, Norse, and well, obviously Christian religion, these sky gods are all male. But this religion embraced a female as not only the one that births the sun, but also the one that protects all of the world from the vast cosmos. So that protection mixed with that just immensity and that I thriftiness isn't the word I would use, but she was intelligent enough to use the characters that she needed in her story and her myth to get what she wanted, to birth her children. She went through someone else that had a little crush on her, probably. And she made sure that she was able to get those extra days and do what she needed to do to keep pushing forward. So we've got intelligence for sure. And my dog agrees, obviously.
Resourcefulness and intelligence. Okay, so I'm going to touch on these points again. Okay, here we go. We are meant to expand beyond limitation. We are meant to expand beyond limitation. Darkness is not the enemy and it is not the punishment. We are constantly becoming and evolving. Constantly becoming and evolving. Embrace that. Don't fight it. Don't get stuck in who you think you were and you need to stay. Like just evolve and become very naturally, very beautifully. Number four, protection can come through surrender. We don't have to control it all. We don't have to know it all. We can just let it go. Protection can come through surrender. And then, of course, the last one, there is power that is cosmic, not small, just expansive, immense, eternal. And those five keys from her just like make me feel so
Powerful for me.
powerfully,
Yes.
wonderfully, cosmically
Feminine.
badass woman, right? So,
Yes.
so I just want to ask you a few questions to reflect on today. How often do you forget how powerful and vast you are? It's easy to do. It's easy to do in a patriarchal society that wants to control our bodies, control what we do, take away our rights. Like we can feel very small. How often do we collapse ourselves down and just shrink to survive? Like we are not meant to shrink. We are not meant to live in survival. We are meant to be the creators of everything. We are meant to be expansive and immense. Nut invites you to remember that you are not your fears. You are not any role somebody told you you had to play or be. You are not your wounds. Your wounds were there to maybe teach a lesson, to shape you, but your wounds and circumstances are not who you are. They are part of your story, but they do not define you or your worth. You are part of something bigger, cyclical, ancient, and alive. And I want you to live fully in all of that. And maybe the real invitation is to allow yourself to expand, to hold both your darkness and your light, because she held both, to hold your endings and your rebirths without abandoning yourself in the process. Maybe that's the bigger message here is that you can expand through everything, through darkness, through light, through endings, through rebirths,
Yes.
and not losing you in the process. So I'm curious, anybody have anything they want to say, add? Anybody want to put in the comments something that they want to take away from what you learned about Nut today? Anybody else have something else to share that maybe we didn't cover, though I think we covered her pretty well? Any thoughts?
And while we're waiting for someone, I will read the last unknown
Oh,
quote that I found
yes,
about
please,
her.
please. Yes.
But and it's just very short. It just says, the sky cannot be owned. The stars cannot be cursed into silence. Every morning the sun rises because she gave birth to it again. And no one asked her permission, and no one could have stopped her. So
Love
I
that.
I thought that just went along with your we are fierce.
We are
That's what I
fierce.
learned. Ferocity from her.
Yes. Okay, any thoughts? Anybody want to share? You had no clue. Wow. Right? And here, you guys, I've like I have always been like really excited to learn about Egyptology. And I remember when like they
Yes.
found King Tut's tomb and all of the
Yes.
gold and all of the everything. And I thought, this is so cool. And Egypt is woven in to my religion and what I was
Mm-hmm.
brought up in. And Joseph and Moses and
Yes.
all of these pieces. And when there was famine, they went to Egypt for food. And so it has part of the
Oh,
story.
good,
You feel
Terry.
more empowered? Yes.
Feeling more empowered is the part. Yes.
Like like she's my new like superhero.
And
Like
now, and I love the Milky Way. So every
I
time I look up and be
know.
like,
I'm obsessed with the stars too, right? And
yes,
and like she is just like I thought, okay, I always thought like Isis was like, this powerful divine feminine. And I am like, love me
the
some
mother of
Isis.
Isis.
But nut, like, hello. She is like everything. And I, like you said,
Yes.
for somebody who grew up where everything was about, these male stereotypical, overseeing gods, this
Hmm.
just really, and it never made
It
sense
was
to me. Men are
refreshing.
not the creators. They are not.
Yes.
Nothing is birthed through a man. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, seahorses, but it's the woman and the woman she puts it in there
Yeah.
and he has a
Hmm.
pouch. The seahorse is the closest thing. But even then, he's like doing her a favor. Could you imagine if women could be like to their husband, "You're going to
Can
birth
you
this
just
kid.
please,
You're going to birth this
can you
kid."
just please take this for the moment?
They could not. They could not handle it. Sorry,
Protection.
they could
Yes.
not handle it. Any other thoughts? Any questions? I would love to answer any questions if you have any. I mean, I feel like we were pretty protection. Yes, protection. I just really enjoyed learning more about her.
Me
I
too.
did not know as much as I know now. I was like, she's like top of my list. I know I love me some Kuan Yin. I love the
Yes.
compassion, but this just feels so
Empowering.
empowering and, like you said, expansive. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, I'm going to let you pick a card and tell us who our next goddess will be next month.
Okay. And I'm excited to learn, like you said, I mean, we knew a little bit about Egyptian mythology, but I had no idea
No idea.
how extensive it
Who's
was.
been hiding
So,
her? The patriarchy. They've been hiding her from us.
ooh, okay, let's do this. Oh, we're doing Hestia. Hestia, hearth and home.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hestia's next. Next month. Hestia,
Hearth and home. I think that would be a good one for us to kind of focus on. We've gone through the expansiveness, and now we can dive into the hearth and home.
hearth and home. Um, Thank you all for being here and contributing. If
Thank
you
you
are
so
watching
much.
this, if you all are watching this on a replay, or if any of you are watching this on YouTube, you're welcome to come in and comment, ask questions. We will answer those questions for you. I just love this series. I have learned so much. And I'm
Me
like,
too.
who's been hiding all these badass women? Who's been hiding them from us?
The men.
Um, right? Thank you,
That's okay.
Christina.
We
Thank you.
can find it
Thanks,
all.
guys. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.